500 million naira to construct presidential aircraft hangar. Police invite Rivers ex-SSG over alleged leaked plot to assassinate Wike. 2 Rivers lawmakers make U-turn on Fubara's impeachment plot. 3.5 trillion naira new project sneaked into 2026 budget despite FG's directive. Akure shot schools in Edo Central after Ekboma violence. Trump declares himself acting president of Venezuela. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. The Ondo State Security Network Agency, also known as the Akure, has arrested 38 men found in a truck suspected of coming from the northern part of the country. The passengers were discovered inside a brand new Mercedes-Benz truck. During interrogation, it was gathered that the suspects could not state a definite destination within the state. They were arrested on Sunday in the cathedral area of Akure, the state capital. Speaking on this development, the commander of Ondo Amotekun, Akogu Adetunji Adelaye, who confirmed the arrest on Monday, said the suspects had no specific destination in the state. He further stated that the area where the driver claimed to have picked up the passengers is considered prone to extremist activities. Now, Amotekun boss is urging residents of the state to remain calm, assuring them that the situation was under control, that they are profiling them all thoroughly, and anyone found culpable after investigations would face the full weight of the law, while those cleared will be sent back to their state of origin. He called on members of the public to continue providing credible information to security agencies to help sustain peace and security across the state. A source said one of the passengers allegedly possessed a uniform bearing the inscription "Commander," along with some charms, and told interrogators that he was a hunter and that the uniform was used for his work, but he could not clearly explain his destination in Ondo State. In an unfortunate development, the Rivers State Police Command has launched an investigation into the death of a family of 6, including both parents, who allegedly died after inhaling fumes from a generator set in Ogali Community, LMA local government area of the state. VP News gathered that the generator ran throughout the night and into Sunday morning before neighbors raised the alarm. A source in the community who pleaded anonymity said the family had been preparing to return to Port Harcourt after the holidays before the tragedy occurred. The incident was first reported by a Facebook user who wrote, "A black Sunday indeed, 6 died on the spot." When contacted, the spokesperson of the Rivers State Police Command, Grace Iringe Koko, confirmed the incident to correspondents this afternoon. She said that they were investigating the process as to how the generator murdered the entire family. Now, the review of the 2026 budget has shown that 500 million naira has been earmarked by the Office of the National Security Advisor for the construction of a hangar designated for presidential aircraft. The hangar, according to budgetary details, is intended to be used for aircraft within the presidential air fleet, which is operated by the Nigerian Air Force on behalf of the presidency. Such hangars are typically used for housing, servicing, and safeguarding aircraft, particularly high-value assets used for official state functions. This allocation comes amid broader spending plans by the federal government on the presidential air fleet in the 2026 fiscal year. Now, the 2026 budget documents show that the federal government plans to spend 6 billion naira on the overhaul of aircraft engines in the presidential fleet. Details reviewed indicate that the overhaul of a 5N FGW engines is expected to cost 3.859 billion. Further review of the budget document shows that another sum I beg your pardon. Now, further review of the budget document shows that another sum of 2.19 billion naira was allocated for the overhaul of 2 Falcon 7X engines, which are also part of the aircraft used for presidential duties. In total, 6 billion naira is planned for the overhaul of aircraft in the presidential fleet during the 2026 fiscal year. Elsewhere, the Rivers State Police Command has invited the former secretary to the state government, Tammy Danagogo, for questioning over an alleged plot to assassinate the minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Wike. The police invited Danagogo following a leaked phone conversation with an arrested suspect. Although the police investigation letter cited did not indicate reasons for the invitation, an anonymous source who wished not to be named claimed that it was in connection with a leaked phone conversation alleging a conversation to that effect. Danagogo and Pastor Tambori were talking about the plot to invite Israelis to come and kill the minister. When Daily Post, one of the news outlets, reached out to the state police public relations officer, Grace Ringo, in Rivers State to confirm the report, she however disclosed to correspondents that she will eventually get back after she has gotten permission from sources. And still in Rivers, the minority leader and member representing Omoma State constituency at the Rivers State House of Assembly, Sylvanus Nwankwo, and his colleague Peter Abe, representing the Gema constituency, have retraced their steps in the ongoing plot to impeach Governor Fubara and his deputy. At a press conference in Port Harcourt earlier today, the duo urged the State Assembly to reconsider its step. According to them, the decision followed an appeal from elders and leaders who begged for leniency. Having listened to many calls from the elders, both within and outside the state, they were begging their colleagues to reconsider their steps and see how the matter can be resolved amicably, even though the governor and his deputy have infringed on the constitution. The governor and his deputy were served impeachment notice on Thursday last week over alleged gross misconduct. Now, an analysis of the proposed 2026 budget reveals that no fewer than 3.50 trillion naira in new projects have been introduced despite explicit directives to ministries, departments and agencies to roll over 70% of their 2025 capital allocations and avoid new projects. Figures extracted from the 2026 appropriation bill indicates that new project entries across MDAs alone amount to 844.49 billion naira. When service-wide votes are included, the total value of new projects rises sharply to 3.50 trillion naira. Against the proposed capital expenditure of 23.21 trillion naira for 2026, the 3.50 trillion naira provision for new projects represents 15.09% of total capital spending. Well, in December 2025, the federal government had directed MDAs to carry over 70% of their 2025 capital budget into the 2026 fiscal year as part of efforts to prioritize completion of ongoing projects amid weak revenue performance. This directive was contained in the 2026 abridged budget call circular issued by the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning and circulated to ministers, service chiefs and heads of agencies. Across these MDAs, more than 400 fresh project lines were introduced, ranging from multi-billion naira infrastructure and health projects to smaller constituency-based interventions such as boreholes, training schemes and equipment supply. A breakdown shows that service-wide votes account to 2.66 trillion naira. The biggest single entry is 1.7 trillion naira for outstanding contractors' liabilities from 2024. This alone represents about 48.55% of the total new projects, including service-wide votes. While it must also discover that among MDAs, the Budget Office of the Federation recorded the highest value of new projects at 375 billion naira allocated for a multilateral or bilateral tied loan for the power sector recovery operation. The single item accounts for 44.41% of total MDAs. Thank you for staying with us. Uzatex Bonded Terminal has officially expanded its operations to the southeastern region of Nigeria with the successful establishment of a new bonded terminal in Imo State, which is considered a landmark development expected to transform logistics, trade facilitation, and regional economic growth. This announcement was made by the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Blue Diamond Group, Mr. Festus Mbisiogu, who described the expansion as a strategic milestone in the company's commitment to strengthening Nigeria's logistics infrastructure and easing the movement of goods across the country. According to Mr. Mbisiogu, the new Isotex bonded terminal is strategically positioned to reduce cargo transit times, improve handling efficiency, and bring world-class bonded terminal services closer to importers and exporters in the southeast. He noted that the facility will significantly lower logistics costs, decongest seaports, enhance trade competitiveness, and stimulate economic activities within the region. Let's take a brief listen to him.
The new Ozotes Bonded Terminal Owerri is strategically positioned to reduce cargo transit times, improve handling efficiency, and bring world-class bonded terminal services closer to importers in the southeast, mainly importers from Imo State, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Abia. And it will help to decongest Ome Seaport, enhance trade, and stimulate economic activities within the region, especially in Imo State. I commend Controller General of Custom Adewale Adeniyi for his visionary leadership, professionalism, and dedication to national economic growth. The Imo Abia Command, Custom Command, Mrs. Ihanacho, I must commend you and your entire team for your continuous support since we indicate interest of setting up our bonded terminal in Imo State. The Governor of Imo State and the Commissioner of Works has done so very well by providing us access road, and I want to use the opportunity to commend the Governor of Imo State for his infrastructural development in Imo State. We are very happy.
Now, Mr. Mbisiogu and Isotex Bonded Terminal Management also expressed sincere appreciation to the Abia Imo Area Command of the Nigerian Customs Service, led by Comptroller Blessing Ihanacho, for providing consistent support collaboration from the project's inception to completion, exemplifying the highest standards of service excellence and national development. Industry stakeholders believe the new bonded terminal will serve as a catalyst for increased trade activities, job creation, and sustainable economic growth. thank you for staying with us. This is still the World News right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. I actually have joining me via the telephone Mr. Elvis Elimehele. Mr. Elvis, good evening and thank you for joining us today.
Good evening, Esther. How are you doing?
I'm fine. All right, Mr. Elvis, let's look at the Edo State Governor. He postponed the resumption of date for all public and private schools in Edo Central following the recent outbreak of violence in parts of the zone. And this was announced, today by the Commissioner for Education, Dr. Paddy Iyamo. I know you're from that region.
Yes.
Can you give us details of what happened that led to the youths bringing down billboards and all what? Mr. Elvis, can you hear me, please? There is a noise at your background. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you very well.
Thank you very much. Can you give us details of what led to this chaotic incident on Friday? Or rather Saturday?
Yeah, Esther, it's a terrible thing. I like you rightly said, that's my town, Ekboma. And Ekboma at the moment is under siege. On Saturday, this matter has been on since, but just that it has become so bad now that the EDJs can no longer go out for their respective businesses. The students cannot go to school, Ambrosali University is actually at Ekboma. So the students were kidnapped. There's even one that just graduated, a medical doctor, was kidnapped. They paid the ransom. And after paying the ransom, the boy was also still killed. So they saw the cause, after some days. And the students said, no, this must not continue. They cannot go to lectures. And even from their homes, their respective hostels, they are coming to raid their hostel, kidnapping them and all that. So the students went on protest. They went to the palace. They went to block the school gate and all that. So instead of them to the government to look into the plight of the students, they released some military men and police, and they started shooting. In the process, they even shot 2 of them. So that now escalated the protest that they now entered the second day. So since then, Ekboma has been locked down. Schools were supposed to resume in Edo State today on the 12th of January, but the commissioner, like rightly said, Paddy Iyamo, now released a statement today that Edo Central, Edo Central is predominantly the Esan-speaking part of Edo State. That's 5 local governments, and Esan West Ekboma is one of the 5 local governments. So that schools will not resume in Edo Central today. And to cap it all, the present governor, Senator Mojo, is from this Edo Central. And this is where the insecurity has become an issue. We can't go to farm, we can't go to market, students can't go to school.
Mr. Elvis, I heard the youth complain that they have been writing and petitioning the state government concerning the incessant spate of insecurity there. No response. Now, the youth decided to conduct a peaceful protest and they invited the Nigerian military to disperse them. But we saw a fallout of what happened. The youths went to the Hausa-dominated communities. They were killing their goats, dispersing them, telling them to leave. And I think this is one of the reasons why the governor decided to shut down schools. There are fears of reprisal attacks. So the question is this: the kidnapping and the killings of young persons there, has there been any notification that they are conducted by these elements from that region? Or it's just because of the recent profiling of the militia group, which are obviously Fulani ethnicities, that made them decide to go to those communities? Because we were wondering why they decided to go to those communities, kill their goats, and ask them to leave.
Yeah, Esther, in the past, they have arrested some of these kidnappers, and the people they arrested are actually these Fulani herdsmen who pretend to be herdsmen. Some of them are in Ekboma, some of them are in the bush, in the various parts of Ekboma. So, and they hand them over to the police, but at the end of the day, no follow-up, nothing happens again. Sometimes they will even still say that the people are back to town. So that's what got to this situation where they got infiltrated. You see, they also went to the palace because they also believe that the Onoji of Ekboma knows why Fulani herdsmen will be now make some part of Ekboma, like their own heritage. So that's why they also went to the palace, because it has been repeating itself. Just that the people have been bearing it. Unfortunately, it has generated to a level now that even when they managed to arrest in the past, they will hand them over to the police, but nothing will happen. So that's why that day they have to move to their camps, their various camps, and say, no, this must not continue. We have to, take the bull by the horn by ourselves, since the government can no longer protect us. But instead of the government, looking into their plight, Edo State government, they now release military men and policemen to start shooting helpless indigene, at random. In the process, some people, about 2 boys were killed. I saw that video that they were shot in the stomach. Then, apart from even after that protest, just yesterday, Saturday to Sunday, they still went to some hostels to kidnap some students. They now move from home to home, even the indigenes. So now, all the parents that have children in Abrosali University at Ekpoma are now rushing to go and take their children out. You cannot believe it, Esther. The information I got this afternoon, my son is in that school, is that from Benin to Ekpoma, that is just less than 1 hour drive, it's now costing over 20,000 naira, because vehicles are not wanting to go to Ekpoma any longer, to go and evacuate their children, students away from Ekpoma. And the policemen at Ekpoma brought a long truck, arrested innocent citizens, and today now they arraigned them. They are in state CID as we speak.
We heard that they went and took some youth from the hostel.
Yes, they moved them from the hostels, their various hostels overnight. That's Sunday stroke Monday, and they took them to Benin today. Those students, innocent students who are also being harassed and kidnapped by the bandits, then the policemen also went in and started arresting them. So the problem at the situation at Ekpoma has become so chaotic that some of us that have children there, in fact, our heart is in our mouth at the moment. I'm thinking of how to go and evacuate I have 2 children in that school. And I don't know what is happening to them. I'll be calling every 2 minutes, 5 minutes. What is going on? So
Mr.
I don't
Elvis,
know why.
Did it take the youth in that community to protest for the governor to actually accede to their plight? I mean, before now, there have been calls. They've been complaining of recurring kidnappings in that region. In fact, the very day that protest took place, we saw a video that circulated on social media of how kidnappers entered somebody's compound who was arriving to their house, and they took the man or the person from their car. So these things have become incessant. It was the CCTV footage in that community, and the governor has been quiet. The only time the governor speaks is when he wants to politically say Edo State will galvanize support for Tinubu in 2027, which led to the
3 million votes.
Exactly, which led to the youth
that's what we hear from him.
burning
3 million
and
votes for Tinubu in
bringing down all of those billboards with the president's face. It has become a recurring incident in some communities, especially Edo right now. It seems to be the hotbed. Kwara is also another region. Kebbi State too is also another region. Kidnapping and militancy, or what do you call this, militia guys ravaging those communities.
Militia guys, yes.
Exactly. We saw what happened in Niger State, Adamawa State, and it's becoming consistent and feels like they are overwhelming our security structure. So the question is this: what are the governors of the states doing? We even heard recently in Katsina that they intend to release some, what do you call them, terrorists, that they term bandits. They're terming them repentant bandits. It's a way of exchanging, possibly to release some abducted victims, and the militia, the extremist groups, are demanding that their members be released from custody. 70 of them will be released by the Katsina state government, and they are calling them repentant bandits. Because of that, the Nigerian soldiers are saying they don't want any repentant bandits. In fact, there was a minor protest amongst them saying that these repentant bandits are the ones that is actually dissolving or neutralizing their effort to rout out ISWAP and Boko Haram. What's your take on this, sir?
Yes, the repentant bandits are like informants inside to the insurgents that are terrorizing Nigeria armed forces, releasing all their plans and procedures or operations to them. You see, most of the military operations they plan, before they get to the location, they be ambushed and killed. That's exactly what is going on. Why will the governor sit down and be talking of releasing 70, to the society? That's what in Edo State. This was what happened in Uromi. Where if at the moment, even when the people are crying and sending message to Benin, the governor will pay deaf ears. The governor is always in Abuja doing nothing, campaigning for Tinubu, because he knows that he came to power and he wants to be brought back again in 2028 in the same manner. It happened like this in Uromi. After all the crying and protests in Uromi, the governor never visited Uromi. I never made any attempt until Uromi people put
Hello, Mr. Elvis.
Called Uromi, went to Uromi and hello, can you hear me?
Okay, you were skipping at the time. Please continue, sir.
Okay. Yeah, that was when the governor now rushed to Uromi. After the Uromi, people now took the laws into their hands. The governor now went and said no. And the next thing, he was found in Kano and went to start begging in Kano. Today now, it's happening in Ekpoma. It has been happening in Ekpoma. It's not talking. Now, the same repetition of what happened in Uromi now is about to happen in Ekpoma. So why will a state governor that called himself the executive governor and the chief security officer of the state not listen to the plight of his people that he swore to protect and to protect? At the end of the day, when the security situation gets degenerated, that's when you now see them now making statements, to spy the people. But I don't know. I think my people will not lie low on this. We are not going to take it as usual because people must go about their normal duties. People must go to school. People must go to their respective farm. My friend was telling me yesterday, say there will be no farming in Esan land this year if this situation is not curtailed. This is the time now people are preparing to enter the farm for this farming season for the year 2026, and this is, and you can see the rise in the insecurity now in our place. If people don't go to farm, the same government that cannot even listen to their plight now will be able to feed the people. That means everybody in Esan land now, 5 local governments will now become like an IDP camp because they do not have access to food. They will not have access to their daily activities. This is the big question we should ask our government.
Mr. Elvis, insecurity.
When he was campaigning, he said he was going to bring insecurity to Edo State.
He has claimed that it was a doctored. He said it was doctored. It wasn't what he said.
It was not doctored. It was a live stage. Yes, that we all saw that video. We saw when Oshomole was trying to correct him. Yeah. It was not doctored. We saw that video. Then Oshomole had to stamp the podium to correct him when he said, "I will bring insecurity." That same video is still there. What are we talking about, Esther? There's nobody should paint this thing because at least even his people now are affected. He is from Edo Central. His people are affected. Are they happy with what is going on in Edo State now? That they can no longer go to farm, they cannot go to their respective businesses. School children or school open today. The school in the whole of Edo Central cannot open because of insecurity. That's not a shame on the sitting governor who called himself executive governor of the state. All he knows how to tell the Edo people is, I'll give Tinubu 3 million votes in 2027. Is that what we should be talking about? The people have to be alive first before they can even talk of voting or giving anybody any vote.
You're very right, Mr. Elvis. Like I was trying to explain to you that in the same vein of insecurity ravaging most states in Nigeria, which is one of the vulnerabilities of this administration not being precise in handling it until Trump decided to do what he did, the Nigerian soldiers as well are calling out this system of reintegrating terrorists into their midst, calling them repentant Boko Haram members or repentant terrorists. They're saying that as it stands now, frontline troops began a fresh appeal to their superiors, warning that the continued absorption of former insurgents is compromising their operations. He says, in fact, in our camps now, soldiers don't trust these former Boko Haram members. And once a team are not together, they cannot be able to rout out these guys. They believe that these guys provide information to these terrorists and to these insurgents. They said, for example, that they discovered recently that their operations and movements are being leaked to Boko Haram fighters, and nobody would do that if not those repentant terrorists, that they're the ones selling them out. And that is why the soldiers are appealing to the top commanders to stop forcing them to work with these people, that they don't trust them. In fact, they're alleging that recent attacks on troops were linked to leaked operational details, adding that most of the recent attacks, like a recent report which was published by Sahara reporters, were due to the leaked information of their strategy by the insurgents to Boko Haram. And in fact, the reported that no fewer than 9 Nigerian soldiers were confirmed killed following an explosion involving IEDs near Gubio in Borno State. The terrorists were told that it's a team of Nigerian soldiers will be passing that route, and those IEDs were planted. I'm sure you saw that information last week, where they had to bring in helicopters to supposedly take them for medicals and carry out the bodies of those that were scattered around. Mr. Elvis, amidst all of this, with what we have known about these terrorists, how they have have killed, ravaged communities, we still have the Nigerian government having to exchange them, or we still have the Nigerian government supposedly having verbal conversations with them, appealing with them to release kidnapped victims. And these guys have continued with their brazen activities. So in other words, is the Nigerian government or the military telling us that they do not know how to handle this if the US doesn't assist them? And there are fears that if the US does come full hard into how we do this, that it will not be good for the government of President Bola Tinubu.
The military knows how to rout out these boys. The unfortunate situation is that the government is not supporting the military. Why will Sheikh Gumi be the one that is dictating for the government? Sheikh Gumi was the one that brought this narrative that Boko Haram should be dialogued with and bring the repentant ones, and rehabilitate them and bring them into the society. This was Sheikh Gumi's postulation to the government, and the government now, Buhari government started it. Buhari bought into it, and Tinubu continued with it. A situation where Nigerian armed forces that are trained with Nigerian money, and these are fathers and parents, you are not jeopardizing their life for insurgents, people who have already signed their life to death. Now say, oh, they have repented. You now brought them into society, and now they become informants to those their brothers in the bush against the Nigerian armed forces. Is that not an aberration? That's why Nigerians are saying, if the government don't have the willpower, political willpower to rout out these boys, the international community should come and assist us. If you do a false stop today, Esther, Nigerians are angry that since the 25th of January, December strike, that Donald Trump has not come again. We are expecting more, because this thing is coming out. It's becoming too much, and it's coming out of hand. Nigerians can no longer sleep. They can't do their businesses as expected. Even the armed forces are now complaining that even all their plans, operational plans, are leaked out, because there are infiltrators in the armed forces now who are leaking all these things out to the insurgent. Until we have a superior power that can help us to wheel out these boys and bring them out of the forest and bring them out to nothing, and be able to take out their sponsors. Their sponsors are so important, Esther. So that these boys will now be starved out of the bush. We cannot get over this. But unfortunately, the Nigerian government cannot do that. They don't have that willpower. Nigerian government are paying lip service to the insecurity that have bedeviled this nation since for the past 16 years. They know where it started. They know how to end it. But unfortunately, they are not ready to end it. Nigerians are paying the supreme price for it. Look at what is happening across Nigeria now, especially now it has gotten to Edo State now. Edo State now is not in North Central. It's not North Central. This is a South state that's got it across from Kwara now to Kogi now in Edo State. This is a South state, and it's coming. It's rolling up. Yes, we saw the 39 that we arrested that day by Amotekun, Edo State. Yes. That means it has also entered Southwest. What part of Nigeria now will you sleep with your two eyes closed? And we said we have a government. We have a president who has told us that they told us he has traveled to Europe. We don't know where he is at the moment, but his country is burning. Is that how to defend the constitution you swear to, that you are going to protect your citizen welfare and security of your citizen for the next 4 years? Is that how it is done?
Mr. Elvis,
when we now speak, they say we are willing. We are criticizing. We are willing.
In reaction to this, the Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, issued a stark warning over the country's deepening vulnerability to global insecurity. He revealed that Nigeria is home to 40% of the estimated 500 million illegal small arms and light weapons circulating in West Africa. So this is how he described it. He said over 500 million illicit small arms and light weapons are circulating in West Africa, and an estimated 40% of these weapons end up in Nigeria. He says these weapons, often smuggled from conflict zones in the Sahel and North Africa, has actually empowered terrorists, bandits, and ethnic militias, which currently is escalating violence in Nigeria's northern regions, which is already coming down to the central regions and to the southwest. So if they know this, he's also calling out that our borders are so porous. He has been saying this ever since he was chief of defense staff. He has been emphasizing chief of defense staff. I'm talking about
chief of defense.
Chief of defense staff. When he was chief of defense staff, he's now the minister of defense. Yes. I'm talking about the fact him emphasizing on the porosity of our borders. When he was chief of defense staff, he kept on saying this. He hammered on the fact that the foreign currencies are sponsoring the smuggling of illegal weapons in Nigeria, and he's also saying that there is a weakness weakening of governance, structural weakening of governance in rural areas. In other words, the governors are not decisive in governing and protecting their regions. So if we have most of these governors joining the All Progressives Congress, are we not supposed to expect security to be better in these regions? If you have 26 states now governed by APC governors, specifically those who defected, are we saying that once you become an APC governor, you forget your principal priority of actually utilizing the security interest of your people and their properties? Because if you look at the communities that are ravaged by these militias, they are basically APC governed states.
Yeah, Esther, that's to tell you that even the defection itself is faulty. It is not because these people want to defect, it's just because that they are defecting for their own selfish reason. Then the defense minister you brought into this matter this evening is a very good one, Esther. Now, at the time he was making those statements, he was still chief of defense staff.
Yes.
He was more in the military than now. He's now a policy maker, now a serving minister. He has made mention of fencing the borders, Nigeria borders. He has made mention of some countries that had this kind of problem and they were able to fence their borders and come out of it. As sophisticated as America fenced their border with Mexico. Pakistan fenced their border with Afghanistan. Now that he's a minister, he should be able to actually now propose a budget for his ministry to start off this project. It has to start from somewhere. Somebody has to start it. It is not just to make the statement and let it die. Then you have to now think of what is the duty of customs in Nigeria? What is the duty of immigration? These are still Nigeria paramilitary forces that are meant to guide the borders. How are these arms and ammunition coming into this nation? Somebody is the controller general of this paramilitary forces in Nigeria. Why can't they be called to order and be brought to book and say, okay, your organization is failing. There are so many arms into this nation. It means you are not doing your duty as expected. If you are failing, you are not supposed to be there. There's nobody that would reinforce a failure. But it's only APC government that reinforces failure. Even when the person is there is failing, they keep the person there because the person is doing their bidding. So now the minister must come up with a budget. At least let him get to the National Assembly when his budget is defending his budget. That he wants to start all this project he made mention of, facing Nigerian border, because I saw the passion he was speaking about it when he was chief of defense staff. But he has brought it to the mainstream now as a ministry now, and as a minister, he has a budget. Let's say start something. Then if he starts, then all these states can also be like, okay, we want to assist instead of using this money. I mean, spreading it in the hands of the people who are even part of those that are terrorizing Nigeria. Let's channel this money to how to protect Nigeria. People are in IDP camp. If this budget are fenced today, these people can now go back to their respective home and start their normal businesses and live a youthful life, a better life. Unfortunately, we see them, using millions of naira to organize rally because they want to cross to APC. How does that help you and I? It's only just for them to remain in power come 2027. That's what they are spending those millions of naira for. Those millions of naira can be used to support the ministry, and let's start this fencing. Let's reinforce our borders. Let's give the Nigeria Armed Forces a better living wages, better welfare, so that these guys can be better motivated and be like they are. I was seeing military take home that day. It was published when I saw that even Ghanaian soldiers earn better than Nigeria. Is that not a shame?
It's terrible. Their allowance per day is 1,500.
We are going to start talking of 102,000 naira. Nigeria Army, somebody earning as low as 102,000 naira. Is that money in this nation? Look at these smaller countries around us. Anywhere. You have to motivate these guys. These guys are putting their life on life for every one of us.
And die needlessly in some instances.
Yes, unfortunately, these politicians, what they take home every weekend for themselves, can pay almost a Nigerian army salary for a whole year. You can imagine such things. These are things, and it's the politician that caused this problem. This politician brought this insurgency into this nation because of their greed, because they want to use the insurgency to remove the city
win
government
elections,
and intimidate the city government and entrench themselves. That's where we got to where we are now. All the problem we have in this nation concerning this terrorism and this insurgency were brought in by the politicians. Unfortunately, the military are the one paying the supreme price for it. And these same military are not well motivated. They are not well remunerated. They are just there, in the trenches 24 hours.
Mr. Elvis, finally, the Rivers State Police Command has invited the former secretary to the state government, Tammy Danagogo, for questioning over an alleged plot to assassinate the Minister of the FCT, Mr. Wike. They invited Danagogo following a leaked phone conversation with an arrested suspect. I'm sure you heard that the plot was to invite some Israeli mercenaries to assassinate the FCT minister. Do you believe any truth about this? Because all of a sudden, this is coming up when there are talks to impeach the River State governor. That's one. Two, the fact that Wike has been in Rivers all this while, trapezing most of the communities in the state, visiting traditional leaders and making talks, sending subtle threats to the All Progressives Congress and boasting actually that it's only the president that can sack him. Do you find this allegation convenient to supposedly provide more protection for the FCT minister? And if it is not a convenient situation, what import would it be to assassinate the FCT minister at this point in time?
I mean, what relevance is seen for somebody to be talking of assassinating him? I don't even understand it. What relevance is the Rivers people that allow him to become unnecessarily relevant to them? I mean, become a star. If the Rivers people know their right, one person cannot put a state into this kind of jeopardy. It's the Rivers people the docility of Rivers people that made a star. Ordinarily, Wike was not the first governor since the democracy started in Rivers State. We have had Odili, we have had Amici. He is not the first governor. He will not be the last. We have had people as sophisticated as Rufus Ada George in that same state before now. So if the Rivers people now gave him elevated him to this height that DSS are now talking about somebody want to assassinate Wike, of what relevance? Let them release the tape where that discussions was made, and let the trial of the SSG let them make it public so that Nigerians can also be making impute. Or as far as I'm concerned, Esther, that is an irrelevant thing. Let them not divert the attention of Rivers people away from their real enemies who do not want things to work in that state.
All right, Mr. Elvis Alimehele, thank you so much for taking your time to respond to all of these questions. We sincerely do appreciate you.
Thank you, Esther. Have a blessed evening.
All right. And just before we go, the United States President, Mr. Donald Trump, has claimed the role of acting president of Venezuela. Well, this was revealed in a post he shared on his Truth social account. The post included an image styled like a Wikipedia entry showing him as both the 35th and 47th president of the United States and now in charge of Venezuela starting January 2026. The image also displayed his official portrait and the name of his U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. This declaration came after Trump previously said the United States would oversee Venezuela until a stable and proper leadership transition could take place. He described the move as a way to maintain order in the country and manage its resources, particularly oil, in a manner that would benefit both Venezuela and the United States. Trump's post outlines plans to bring between 30 and 50 million barrels of Venezuelan oil under U.S. control for sale in international markets. The announcement also included a warning to Cuba, suggesting that Havana should cooperate with the United States or risk losing access to Venezuelan oil supplies, a key source of support for the island nation. And that's a wrap on the World News at 6. My name is Esther Mwachuku. Good evening and thank you for staying with us. Up next is the Evening Rush at 7 o'clock.